Hi guys, welcome to another episode of The Journey Pathway. And in today's video, we've got a little bit of a personal Q&A with myself. And this is going to kickstart our podcast series that we're going to be trying to bring to all of our clients and to everyone outside in the fitness industry as well. So the first episode is just going to get a wee understanding about myself, just as I'm going to be at the front of the podcast to come. So the more you can get to know me, and I'll get to know some of the guests that will be appearing on this, it's just a lot better just for the feel of what the series is, because what it's going to be trying to capture is going to capture the community aspect of what the Journey brand represents, and then also what the people are like within it, because that is really who we are when it comes to our training and our methods as well. So a wee bit of an introduction to myself. My name's Matthew and I am the head coach here in Dunoon, and I've been working in the company for the past 3 years now, where I've had a bunch of mentors and a bunch of training leading up to my position of where I am now. And I want to try and highlight some of the aspects of the journey which I've personally managed to experience, and that maybe a lot of people don't get to experience behind the scenes as well, because that is really where the light comes to what the Journey brand could do for you in the future as well. So with the Q&A that we've got today, it is going to be looking at a few questions that the clients have personally asked for me to answer about myself, and just things that they've always wondered when it comes to aspects of my training, lifestyle, that could maybe relate to them as well. And it's something that I'm going to try and capture from a few of our coaches that we'll have onto the podcast in the future, just so you get a bit more of an understanding of what we're all like as people and as coaches as well. So we'll jump into a few of these questions, and then maybe you might take something from this as on top of that. So the first question is, everyone's fan favorite, is how did you start training? It's the first thing everyone would like to know when you see these athletes or you see coaches in the future as well, is you always want to know, where did they start? So where I started was, I was 15. I'd been a very sporty kid from when I was younger. I'd had a lot of aspects of gymnastics and athletics when it came to stuff I'd done outside of school. So I was always training and I was always trying to improve myself for them said sports. But one of the things that really got me was actually not my physical abilities, it was more my physical looks. So it was the visual aspect of it. So that was something that really kind of affected me when I first started. Was I didn't like my body composition, so that left me with a lot of mental struggles and confidence struggles as well when it came to things like being out, being social as well. It's something that kind of knocked me until the point that I said I wanted to make a wee bit of a change. So I started the gym and I started to look to try and build muscle and try and build a wee bit of strength on top of that. But yeah, that's how I personally started. And then it progressed to what it was today, which I think is captured in the next wee question that I'm seeing here, is how long have you trained for and how has your training evolved over time? So I've trained since I was 15, I'm 20 now, so that's 5 years. And my training's had a lot of ups, had a lot of downs, but that comes from experience, which I try to tell everyone is, it's never going to be a straight line going up. It's going to have its curves, it's going to have its ups and downs, as I was saying. But yeah, my training's evolved over time from that wee aspect of trying to learn it, which was the first wee steps. If you go to do it yourself, it can be challenging. You go into the gym, you don't know what you're doing, you can feel a bit self-conscious with it. You can maybe turn around and try all the kit and really mess yourself up as well. But what I was lucky to have was I had a lot of training partners, a lot of people to pass on the knowledge. My brother was a prime example. We both trained together the first couple of years of us both starting, and he passed on his knowledge and he helped me as well understand the gym, understand programs, training, just so I wasn't being naive and I wasn't trying to basically hinder myself as well. I made sure that I was under his wing, and he taught me a lot that I know now about training and nutrition as well. That was a big part that he helped me with. But once we evolved it from that, we both got into a thing called powerlifting, which is a strength sport that is very close to a lot of the coaches in the journey, because we're all powerlifting athletes. We've all competed as well. So it was a really good thing for me to capture being younger and getting so heavily involved in training as well. So I started competing in powerlifting. I got coached as well. We were in a powerlifting team. So that helped us take that stepping stone into competitions and into a training lifestyle as well on top of that. So that's what I really started to do. And I managed to pick myself up a Scottish record. I managed to do a few competitions, get them underneath my belt. But now that I'm a coach, I've now took a more well-rounded approach to my training where I'm having aspects of Olympic lifting, a wee bit of CrossFit, but I'm also doing strength training on top of that just to make sure that I'm ticking myself over and I'm not losing any of my past progress. But it's something we always recommend, is you can have a lot of different avenues down your training. You might come to us because you want to get fitter, but then over time you might turn around and say, I want to get stronger, I want to get faster, all these different ones. Is you can always have these disciplines. It's not a strict line for us to try and progress through. It's going to have its bumps, it's going to have its ups, it's going to have its downs as well. But yeah, no, that's a really good question for that one. But it really starts to dwindle down here where it's a bit more personal now, where people have asked, have you experienced any setbacks and how did you overcome these? I've had my broad aspect of setbacks, but my main one, which a few of the people know that I've spoke to, has been the good old sciatica. Sciatica has been something that has hindered my training, but it's something I managed to overcome as well. With sciatica, I got that when I was about 19. It was actually my 19th birthday. I had a wee flare-up, but that really drastically that really hindered my training and kind of left me at a stop for quite a while. But one of the main ones that I try to reiterate to clients is, if you ever have these setbacks or these injuries or that, is accept them for what they are. It's always going to happen. There's going to be bumps in the road where you're not going to have a solid 6 months where your training goes well, your nutrition goes well. You might pick up these wee niggles or pains, and it's completely natural. You might miss a week of nutrition, but that's not going to affect you too much in the future if you identify it and you rectify it as well. I managed to sit down a lot, get my thoughts together, structure a plan to make sure that I was making good progress while keeping myself safe and rehabbing my injury as well. So a lot of rehab, a lot of muscle activation, muscle memory had to be done just to make sure that I was safe and I could get back to my powerlifting at the time I was doing as well. But yeah, that's how I managed to overcome that. I still have my flare-ups, but it's a lot more controlled now while we're doing it, which is going to be looking into my favourite lift and training day. Okay, that's a lot of clients get annoyed at me for saying this, but saying I personally love pull-ups. I think pull-ups have been one of my favourite exercises, maybe from the aspect of me doing gymnastics when I was younger. It's something I've always done, so I've gotten quite accustomed to it. So pull-ups, I would say, is my favourite lift, but just now my favourite training day is actually squats. I've really took this next block of programming to focus on my squatting ability and my squatting strength as well. I want to make sure that I'm getting the max output out of my squats and getting the benefits from it as well. So squats have been my favourite training day as of just now. But when we're trying to look into what my training's all about and what I chose to go down the aspects of my training, is another question has been, what are my thoughts on competitions in relation to fitness, which I think I can speak for everyone as having a broad range of fitness events and competitions, doing things from the likes of High Rocks to doing things with Strongman. I also done a Tough Mudder with a few of the clients not so long ago, and I done my powerlifting competitions. I had a wide range of that, but I think one of the things that I seen throughout is the kind of bad light that competitions get. A lot of people think it's everyone against everyone, but once you actually get into the competitions, you start to see that there's much more of a community aspect to it than you think. When we try to represent that in a lot of the stuff that we do, competitions really do get that aspect which we are looking for, which is community. We all support each other. We all want the best for the people we're competing against. Yeah, you have little things where you're trying to get a wee bit, maybe a better time than someone to lift heavier than them, but you are supporting them in the grand scheme. So I think competitions are a brilliant thing for your fitness journeys as well, because it gets to see where you're at, and you might come out with it saying, I want to progress further next time I'm doing it. So it's a good wee motivation tool. And then after that, with competition in relation to fitness, we've got someone asking, what would you recommend for someone starting out at the gym? So that's a really good one, because I think everyone starting out is going to be completely different. It's noticing where you are at as your person, what maybe your strengths and weaknesses are. But a good one that I always try and highlight to people is never look at it as training. Always try and look at it as, I call it practice. Because when you step in through the gym door, you're either practicing a squat, practicing a bench press, or practicing a deadlift. You're training towards that, but you're practicing to get a better lift overall. You're practicing to lift heavier weights, maybe practicing to do a better circuit time. All these different ones, if you see it as practice, it is going to give you more of a mental shift towards that, which will maybe not put as much pressure on yourself. You won't worry about what weights you're lifting or what technique you're doing. As long as you're practicing it and you're making that steady progress, you're going to be better in the long term as well. So that's what I'd always try and recommend for anyone that's in the gym fitness community, is try and see it more as practice rather than trying to see it as a training day. But yeah, my personal thoughts towards training is what's gravitated me towards coaching, which is another question we've got here, is what made me want to become a coach and what makes me still want to coach this day. Is coaching for me is trying to get the most out of people and is trying to help them progress and become a wee bit more confident and secure in their abilities in the gym, so they can enjoy it to the aspect that I also enjoy training and learning about training as well. A few people are always going to come in and they're going to be a wee bit self-conscious with it, but it's my job as a coach is to make them feel more comfortable and them more autonomous, so they could turn around to me in a year's time, 2 years' time, and go, Matt, I know what I'm doing. And they really see the kind of beauty and science of what is strength training and what is physical training in general. So yeah, that's what really gravitates me towards coaching, and what I'll try and progress as I go through my career as well, is trying to pass on my knowledge to give these people these same things that I got when I first started coming up as well. And then moving on from there is some of these questions are starting to get a wee bit more personal. So one of them is your favourite sports and inspirations in them sporting activities. And my main ones are always going to be strength sports. Strength sports are really what kind of gets me to where I'm at. It's what I like learning about. It's what I like watching and seeing these people do these different feats. So things like Olympic lifting, strongman and powerlifting are brilliant for me. That's my bread and butter when it comes to things like competitive sports. I love watching them, I love learning about them, and I'll continue to do so as well. So yeah, that's my sports. But inspirations in them sports, I would say, is there's a lot of people I like watching personally, just to get some of their thoughts as well as I'm passing on my thoughts to you. Is a few of them have been your strongman like Adam Bishop, you've got Stoltman brothers, you've got Martin Licis, if I'm pronouncing his name right, everyone pronounces that a wee bit different. And then you've got Olympic weightlifters like the Chinese weightlifting teams, the German weightlifting teams. They're really good people to watch to try and get their insights and their training and their techniques as well. But personal for Olympic weightlifting has been a guy called Clarence Kennedy, which I always speak to clients about. Love watching a lot of his stuff, and I love seeing how he's progressed over the years, training from being 15 or 14 into where he is now. But yeah, the last question for him is, we've only picked out a couple of them, is what do you like to do outside the gym? This is a good thing because it's trying to mix in that lifestyle with training, which a lot of people try and juggle that, which you can have a life outside the gym. You don't need to train 24/7. But things I like to do outside the gym is I like to do a lot of fishing, a lot of golf, and I also like to do a lot of stuff in terms of motorsports. We like to go see different car shows. We like to work our own cars. I like to try and study that. So that's a wee thing outside of the gym that I like to do, just to make sure that I'm not getting bored of what I do in here, what I do as a coach. And so I have a life outside of training, but my life is heavily fixated on what I do in here as well. But yeah, that is all the podcast questions. If there is any more you want me to elaborate on, maybe try and to progress and talk about a wee bit more thoughts and opinions on these. I'm happy to answer these questions, which I'm going to be asking some of you as you start to step on this podcast as well. So I hope you've enjoyed the episode, and I'll see you for next week.